Just as things seem to have been calming down for MrBeast, not only has he been hit with a whole load of new allegations relating to some alleged new leaked group chats, but the individual who obtained these messages believes that it is so serious that she has now reported what she found to the FBI for investigation. And if, and it's a big if, what she claims is true, then there could be legal grounds for investigation under the 1984 Child Protection Act. Yeah, we're getting into that territory. But the problem is, since Rosanna has been a long-time critic of MrBeast, there has been a wave of pushback saying that she profits off of making these claims and therefore she is blowing it out of proportion. So, what's real? What's an exaggeration? Well, that's what we're getting in today with this Halloween special. Like the video for the enormous effort and let's get into it. Okay, so by now, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with these two individuals. Rosanna Pansino is a longtime food YouTuber, but in recent months, in about last 2 months, she's been making a series of videos against MrBeast. And I think it's fair to say it's in increasing frequency and intensity. And I'm sure we all know Dogpack404. He is a former employee of MrBeast and the person who really started the large majority of these claims that I think we're all familiar with today. And while neither of them are strangers to, making some serious allegations against Jimmy, I think it's fair to say that actually reporting him to the FBI might be their most extreme step yet. Well, what for, you may ask? Well, about 2 days ago, they made this YouTube video titled, MrBeast Knew All Along, brackets, 1,000 leaked messages. Now, in the 22-minute video, they go over some of the claimed thousands of leaked messages that she claims to have obtained from an official MrBeast work chat on Telegram spanning from 2020 to 2021. She also added in her description that she has verified the authenticity of these messages with multiple former MrBeast employees, all to make sure that they were legitimate before sharing. And remember that point, to make sure they were legitimate before sharing, because we'll get back to that. Now, in these messages, the absolute worst of which I probably can't speak about on here, but she has posted about a 7-minute video scrolling through a bunch of them on Twitter. So go look there if you want. But some of the worst ones that they spoke about in that video were allegedly sent by Ava Chris Tyson, joking about sex offenders and other things. For example, Chris allegedly shared a meme that reads, "Why, yes, I am asexual predator." That one hits different with hindsight. And there's also other things like commenting on the, 14-year-old fictional character Violet from The Invincibles in, of course, a suggestive way. And then even, and this is the main kind of beef and potatoes of their claims, a suggestive picture which Chris allegedly sends in that Chris believes could have been Ivanka Trump when she was 13. Now, there have been some key developments to that one in particular, which we'll get to. But you're probably wondering at this point, why are they even speaking about Chris, right? This is supposed to be claims about MrBeast. Well, it seems that that's because from the images that they've at least showed, it doesn't seem that he himself has contributed anything hugely inappropriate. Again, at least in the stuff that they have made public. Rather, Rosanna's angle on this video seems to be an attempt to expose the dissonance between MrBeast's public statements versus his behavior, which is claimed to be documented in the chat. We'll get to that. In other words, she's claiming that these messages are evidence that MrBeast lied, and he actually knew about Chris's behavior the entire time. For example, at the beginning of her video, she references that the public statement that Jimmy made when, he fired Chris was saying, "Over the last few days," important 2 words, "I've become aware of serious allegations against Ava Chris Tyson's behavior online." So she's claiming that rather than it being in the last few days, he has known about Chris's behavior for a long time and only took action when the rest of the world found out, and he was forced to. Now, by her reporting all of these chats to the FBI, I can only assume that she's making the case that just because Jimmy himself didn't explicitly share anything constituting illegally inappropriate, it could still be grounds for investigation. And here's why. According to the 1984 Child Protection Act and U.S. federal law, it strictly prohibits any distribution or exchange of child exploitation material. But it also stipulates that knowingly sharing, receiving, or possessing such material is also a criminal offense. Also, evidence of actual images of underage individuals in a sexual context, even as jokes or memes, could serve for grounds for an investigation by law enforcement. Additionally, certain behaviors that involve the normalization or encouragement of explicit content involving minors can in some cases be grounds for an investigation if they imply a predatory intent or grooming. Now, the ultimate question is, after reading all of that, does any of these messages fulfill these criteria? Well, it's kind of hard to say, because all of what I just read out to you, legally speaking, is all predicated on there actually being explicit or suggestive images of minors, right? That's what it's all predicated on. But in these messages, the ones that they showed at least, the only reference that could actually constitute actual CP and thus be liable for criminal legal action is the Ivanka Trump picture. But as I mentioned a moment ago, there's been a pretty big update on that, because only after they posted this video and reported these chats to the FBI, Dogpack404 posted this on Twitter. I've received the original source of the Ivanka photo. It's from an April 2000 British GQ magazine photo shoot. Surprisingly, it is actually her, and she was 18 at the time. Now look, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that there could be more messages that they didn't show us, right? That were too bad to show us. But if there wasn't, to report these messages to the FBI and make a video for the entire world to see before doing the full research and even finding the original source of the alleged main piece of evidence, that seems odd, especially when it drastically changes the original claims as well. Going from 13 to 18 is pretty significant. And that's not to say that it makes any of the messages that they showed from these group chats any less creepy. I think we can all agree on that. It's just if we're talking about the standpoint, of the FBI taking this case on from a legal perspective, it just makes it far less probable. But then again, you could make the argument that Rosanna's original claim was not to say that anything was illegal per se, and rather that her ultimate claim was that Jimmy knew about Chris's inappropriate behavior way before he did anything about it. And on that point, one of their main pieces of evidence for that was this message. And for reference, in these messages, they say that MRBEAST is actually under the alias Jon Snow. And in the video, they put out a pretty good case to, make that pretty confident. So, in the message, Jon Snow jokes with Chris about an anime series involving a very controversial storyline in the anime world, which involves a relationship between a 26-year-old man and a 17-year-old girl. And apparently this message was sent from Jon Snow to Chris saying, I bet Chris would love this show. So they make the case, why, Jimmy, did you think that Chris would specifically like this show out of all the other shows out there? Implying that Jimmy did in fact know about Chris's alleged inappropriate preferences for content, let's say. But the question is, what do other people think about this? Well, some of the top comments on her Twitter post read, you're telling me these guys had a whole group chat where they only posted memes/images? Where's the context or the actual conversation? And this is in reference to the 7 minutes of scrolling through all of the conversations, or part one of the conversations that she leaked. Does someone have what's shocking? This looks like an extremely average group chat. Okay, right. Normal. That's a bit wild. You could be the biggest fan of MRBEAST and whoever, but calling some of these memes normal? I think that's a bit of a stretch. And on the other side, you've got people saying things like MRBEAST 100% knew of all of the SIHT going on with Chris. It is disgusting. And people look up to these people? Gross. And I don't think anyone at this point is defending some of the stuff that was in that chat. But there's also been a lot of criticism of how Rosanna and Dogpack handled the whole situation. So let's read some of those comments. If you guys think that it was real CP, then why did you search for more sources of it? Why wouldn't you just describe what you saw instead of showing a censored version of it? Probably because people wouldn't believe them. People have been banned for sharing even censored versions of CP on many platforms, including YouTube. Seems like a dumb risk to take unless you knew that it wasn't CP, but played up the story for views anyway. And then in reference to the age change for the Ivanka Trump picture, you should have found this out before making your video. I get we're just making YouTube videos, but you need to have some level of integrity before going forward with a story. And to be fair, this isn't the first time that they've done this. Recently, Rosanna shared an image on Twitter that got 8.5 million views that she said she was sent. And she questioned whether Lunchly had been discontinued. And obviously by posting this picture, it had a huge knock-on effect and went viral on social media. But then a few days later, Logan Paul came out and said, no, they're not being discontinued. Rather, they just made these products inactive until they were able to fulfill the orders, and that they were even still available on the Kroger website. I mean, the point is, she never claimed that they were discontinued by fact. But even putting that out there as a question before doing any fact-checking, like contacting the store themselves or asking Logan Paul, that's pretty much enough for people online to go with it and run. So I guess the ultimate question is, what do you guys think? Should Dogpack and Rosanna be doing more research before going forward with these kind of stories? Or is it important that they're at least putting stuff out there to expose inappropriate behavior? Let me know, but before we end the video, let me show you this. Woo! Can you believe it is spook season? Halloween! Look at this! I'm going to show you a video in a second. I'm going to do a detailed thing because this is truly a work of art. Look at the freaking effort that Maddie, my girlfriend, has put in to this. Woo! Spiders! Look at me. I've even got little gunshot wounds. That's me behind. You can see the eyes there. I've got the whip strangling me. I've got a spider being hung up. I've got little ghosties over here. All the lights turned orange. That's a heater. So yeah, huge W's in the chat for our News Daddy interior design team. Woo! But without further ado, I'll see you in the next one. Boom! Oh, that's you! Woo! Alex the editor replying with a oof, a juicy, succulent YouTube. Good luck recording, sir. Thank you very much. It always gets me hyped when you respond with some big motivation to get me going. That's what we want. All right, I think we're all good. Ooh, we could do this.